So when I started 34 years ago or so, I did not pay myself for the first 18 months. I coach a lot of guys that they have saved up money to start a business. Mine was more off the cuff. We knew we wanted to start a business one day, but when the company that I was working for went out of business, I just said, now's as good a time as any. And we leaped out with $274 in a used truck, and that was it. And so for the first 18 months, I didn't pay myself. I mean, there wasn't anything to pay. I actually did work for a CPA, and he challenged me. I was putting in some air conditioners for him, and he challenged me and asked me, are you paying yourself? And I said, not yet. And he said, approximately how much are you doing? And I told him, and he said, let me set you up with something, and I want you to start paying yourself. So he wrote it on a piece of paper, and I still have that piece of paper today. And he said, I want you to start paying yourself $1,200 a month. Here's what you need to take out: FICA, state, etc., and federal. And that's what you need to take out, and that's what you need to do. And he said, I want you to make sure you pay yourself just like you pay your bills, because he did know that I paid my bills on time. And we had talked about that earlier. But anyway, he said, I want you to pay yourself religiously every month. And I did. So for the first 18 months, it was $20 draws here and there. And actually, that was our allowance each. 1990, we got, my wife and I got $20 to spend. And even if you do the numbers today, that's not a whole lot of money, even in 2024. So I was very dedicated to growing McAfee Heating and Air, and 100% of all the profits, when there were profits, went right back into the business. And that's just how I operated. I wanted the business to grow, and I wanted the business to take off. I wasn't buying, once I started making money, I wasn't buying boats. I wasn't buying Corvettes. I wasn't buying Lambos. I wasn't buying homes in Florida. That came much, much, much later. So I felt I was very responsible in saving and putting money back in the business to build the business, which I felt it was a major sacrifice. We talked, I keep bringing this podcast up, but The Long Game is one of my favorite podcasts, The Long Game. And because you're sacrificing short-term gain for long-term building, and one day it really pays off, and it has. It's paid off well. I didn't even start taking any profits till it's 34 years. It's probably been about 7 years ago I actually started taking some profits out and buying things with it. Actually, it was 2015 because we bought our Florida house in 2015. So it's been about 9 years ago, and that would have been, 25 years in business. We finally started taking some money out of the business, which was mine anyway. I'm an S corporation, paying taxes on it anyway. But we started taking some money out, not all by any means, and buying a few things we wanted. So it was sacrificing as we grew. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Hey, this is Greg McAfee, and welcome to the Greg McAfee Show. Now let's get started. Welcome back to the Greg McAfee Show, where we discuss steps to successful entrepreneurship, how to take your business to new heights, and ultimately follow your dreams. Today, we're going to be discussing building dreams, the sacrifices we make to grow. And a lot of entrepreneurs often make significant sacrifices in pursuit of growing their companies. Now, let me say this. When I say a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm saying the ones that survive. Because we already know about 95% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. And totally different subject, but I told someone the other day that I was coaching, the reason they do is because they hire their first employee, and then they hire their second employee and their third employee, and they have no idea what they're doing. They've never taken a class in supervision. They've never taken a class in management. They've never taken a class in how to train someone properly, and they fail. And they fail big. And they were fine when they were a one-man shop for a little while, but as soon as they got into hiring and employing and having employees, they failed. And, too fast of growth will take you under quicker than lack of capital. And number two, hiring people and not being experienced in hiring people and supervising and managing is the second cause that will take you under faster than lack of capital. All right, so here's some common areas where we might face some challenges in sacrificing. Now, again, this is for the companies that have made it. This is for the companies that have survived and thrived. If you're a one-man shop right now and you're in your first year, you're not there yet. But you need to get there. In order to get there, you're going to have to sacrifice some stuff. It's not like it used to be when you worked for another company. You have much, much, much more responsibility. And it takes a lot more to operate your own company. A lot of people start a company thinking they're going to have it made. I can go on long vacations. I can buy whatever I want. Wrong. Wrong. All right? So the first thing that is sacrificed is time. Many business owners work long hours. The ones that are making it work long hours, including evenings, including weekends. And this significantly reduces the time that's spent with family. If you don't have a proper balance of family, you'll lose sometimes you'll lose both your business and your family, unfortunately, because you just don't have that proper balance in place. It also reduces time with personal interests, with hobbies, and actually with relaxation. And I found out the hard way after I lost 100 pounds and was taking many supplements that I didn't make sure they jived with each other, and not getting enough sleep. I was only averaging about 3.5 to 4 hours sleep a night. I realized it caught up with me, and I had a few health issues because of that. I realized that relaxation is critical to success. Not laziness, not lackadaisical-ism, if that's a word. You got to be able to relax, and you got to be able to sleep. Your body needs it. It's very important. And then number two, what we sacrifice is personal finances. You see, in the early stage of business, if it's working properly, we will reinvest our profits back into the company. And sometimes when you're not even making enough and you have to pay the business bills and you happen to have saved some, or you happen to have some money in the bank personally, you'll sacrifice that to pay the bills of the business. And you'll forego steady paychecks like I did for 18 months. And you might even start accumulating debt. Now, that's that's another subject, and that's scary, because you can only accumulate so much debt to where the compounding interest and the interest rate will take you under, okay? So I do not recommend that one at all. If you're not able to pay off that credit card monthly, or you're not able to pay off that line of credit, even if a personal line of credit, whatever it is, if you're not able to pay it off quickly, and you set a goal when you want to pay it off, especially if it's like a line of credit, if you can't do that, then don't you're just going to have to eat it and go because you can't take on more debt. You will go. It won't take long. You will go under with too much debt. And then you've got social and family life. The demanding schedule of managing a startup is unreal. And if you're married, your spouse needs to know. The first thing, Clay Mattiel owned Iams Pet Food, one of the largest pet food companies in the world at one time. Clay Mattiel was sole owner of Iams.
He sold it for somewhere between 2.3 and 2.4 billion.
He said, if I started any business before I even put my shingle out, I would hire a board of advisors, a coach, a board of advisors to get good counsel. And that would save a lot of heartache and pain, definitely. So you've also got health and well-being, like I talked about. Stress and long hours associated with running a business can take a toll on you physically. The stress alone will eat at you. It will also make relationships tough at home because you're so stressed from work. And you're neglecting exercise, you're eating poorly, you're eating fast food, and not getting enough sleep. Those are common things for an entrepreneur. And you got to be aware of those. You got to be aware. They sneak up on you. Fast food, that's how I gained 100 pounds. I was mean and lean out of the Marine Corps. I was just got out of the reserves when I started McAfee. And I was a good weight. I looked good. I felt good. And started getting calls and running service calls and all that stuff. And what did it? Didn't have time to pack lunches, pack good food or anything like that. And I was eating out, McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell every day. And I joke, I said I gained 3.5 pounds a year for 30 years. That's 100 pounds. And that's about the truth. But in reality, I'd lose 20, gain 25, lose 10, gain 15, all along the way. It was just a mess. But in reality, and if you just do the numbers, I gained about 3.5 pounds a year for 30 years. All right. Then you got job security and stability. Starting a new business is extremely risky. Unlike having a steady job, if there is even one, entrepreneurship often lacks a predictable income. Now, that's the truth. When that CPA told me, you pay yourself this amount every single month and don't miss, he knew why he told me that. He knew why he was saying that. And then you got basically personal identity, because when you're running a business, you often tie your self-worth to your identity of the business success, and the business success isn't that great at first. So you've got low self-esteem at times. Even though you're a confident person and you started a business, it can be emotionally draining, and business struggles will emotionally take you down, mentally take you down, and physically take you down. Then you got comfort and lifestyle, and in order to redirect resources like time and money toward their business, entrepreneurs might temporarily lower their standard of living, opting for less expensive housing, hopefully, older cars, or scaled back vacations. I've told you this before, but I drove that used truck for several years, and we lived in a 800 square foot ranch that we bought in the same year we started McAfee. It was a rental property that was run down, and we had to put a ton of money in it over time, and that's just what we had to do to get started. There weren't any new vans. I didn't buy my first new van 4 years later, 1994, Ford F-250, Econoline, E250, whatever they are. That was my first 4 years I drove a used Ranger. And I watched other companies start up with brand new trucks and brand new box trucks, and I thought, what am I doing wrong? But it didn't take long. Those companies were gone. They came and went quickly. And you've got to sacrifice. Sacrifice is the key. Your comfort and lifestyle has to be sacrificed. Look at it as it will come later. It's the long game. You've got to be in it for the long game. If you're in it for the short haul, the instant gratification, look at me, I run a business. Look at my car I drive. Look at my house I live in. You're not going to be around long. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. It does not work that way. And these sacrifices that we make here, the time, the personal finances, the social and family life, the health and well-being, the job security and stability, and the personal identity and the comfort lifestyle, these sacrifices are generally made with an eye toward achieving greater long-term goals, like I just said, such as financial independence. I was debt-free for the first 7 years in business. And then I used debt to build a building, and I used debt to buy some trucks, and I used debt with goals in mind to pay off the debt. So for the first 7 years, I was debt free, and then I leveraged a lot for many years, and then the last 10 years. No, the last 8 years, we're debt-free again. We're debt-free again. The building, the trucks, everything we do here is debt-free. And I have friends that'll tell me, why do you pay off debt when you get these low interest rates and you can make money off the money and stuff, The sleep factor, and that's all. I'm not against debt. And one day, actually, I've told you folks that I'm building a RV and boat storage facility, big, and it's going to take some debt to get started on that. I'm already into it, and I'm okay. I'm okay with that, and I've got a plan for that. And I don't have a problem with debt. I have a problem staying in debt and not being able to pay it off, and that's the thing. If you have the money in the bank to pay it off, or money in investments to pay it off, debt is not a problem. It's a great tool, and some people know how to use it. My good friend Ken Goodrich probably is the guru of knowing how to use debt and build a business and use it wisely. But very few people know how to do that. Very few. All right, the next thing I'd like to talk about, just remember, we're in it for the long game. I have like three benefits of sacrificing. There are benefits in sacrificing. And number one, sacrifice creates opportunity, and it helps us prioritize, because making a sacrifice can allow us to focus on what's truly important, creating space for new opportunities and prioritizing new efforts. So we've always got something coming down the pike for new opportunities and new efforts, and we sacrifice certain things to get that. And I'm going to personally wait on buying this so I can get this, which is going to make me more money. It's actually a game. It's a game, and when you know how to play the game, you play to win, and it's a lot of fun. And then number two, sacrifice demonstrates commitment and dedication. Because when we sacrifice, we demonstrate to ourselves and others that we're committed. We're in it for the long game. We're committed and dedicated to our goals, which leads to greater success. As I coach people, some people just don't get this. And I can't make them get it. I can't make them get it. They either wanted things quickly, or they don't understand the concept of sacrificing now to gain later. Some people just don't get it. And it's not that they're dumb, or it is that they're ignorant. They're ignorant to learning how. But I try to get it across to them that if you just do this, you'll get this later, but some people just don't get it. Then lastly, and most important to me, I've told you guys before that, this is the clean version of podcasting, especially in the trades, especially with, I listen a lot to David Goggins, and I have to type in clean version David Goggins to find some stuff where I just prefer not to hear the F word 100 times in 10 minutes. But that's me. But I've told you that before. This is the clean version. I'm a Christian. I try to act like one. I try to represent God well the best I can. I let him down a lot, I know. But sacrifice here also reflects Jesus' example of selflessness, because Jesus was the best example of selflessness. I mean, I heard it put this way once, and I've used this forever, was Jesus put himself on the cross. You might say, oh no, the Romans put him on that cross. No, he put himself on the cross, because all he had to do is blink and God would have removed him and sent 1,000 angels, 10,000 angels to fight for him, and it'd have been over. But the sacrifice of giving his life is what Christianity is all about. So Jesus put himself on the cross. He sacrificed his own life. And there even came a time where, being half God, half human, that he even questioned God, have you forsaken me? Father, have you forsaken me? Because the excruciating pain of nails in your hands holding you up and your feet and the thorns on your head and everything, it was just unreal that we can't even imagine. But Jesus' ultimate sacrifice on the cross shows us the power of selflessness and sacrifice. By following his example, we can experience the giving up or giving up of self for someone else, leading to a more meaningful and purposeful life. That's sacrifice. When the ultimate, the ultimate sacrifice is to give your life for someone else's life. It happens in combat all the time, where someone will jump on a grenade to save their platoon. And it's the ultimate sacrifice. And remember this, wrapping it up here, sacrifice is not just about what we give up, but about who we trust and who we follow. By sacrificing for God's sake, we can experience true success that supersedes any earthly measure, any Lambo, any 10,000 square foot home, any home on the beach, any investment we make, any Harley Davidson, any Indian, because I love both of those, any cool Corvette, because I've had a lot of those, when I could write a check for one. And, sacrificing for God's sake, we can experience true success that supersedes anything we can possibly imagine. So I would much rather sacrifice for God than to worry about how much time I'm going to give up to grow this business. It's minute in the realm of things. And I just want you to think about that. So we've covered a lot of things: building dreams, the sacrifices we make to grow. All right, before we wrap up, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe below. You can also support this podcast by rating and reviewing on iTunes or your preferred listening platform. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram or Facebook at The Greg McAfee Show. No spaces, no underscores. Be sure to tune in next week. I'll be doing my best to send out something to challenge you to be better, to think differently, and to make more money. So, thanks for listening. As always, carry on. God bless. Make this day the best day of your life because we're not promised tomorrow. See you later.